Well, it's been more than 6 months since we've been able to bring you a full highlights race coverage package. 6 months since we went GXCC racing. That was round number 2 at Falkville, and now round number 3, the reboot of the GXCC Championship this weekend, was out in Radium. Sandy, dusty, thorny, and one of the toughest tracks laid out on the season so far. It's historically always been a difficult event, and this was fantastic to get every cobweb blown away and good to go as we roll into a very short sprint. Just 3 rounds of the championship remain going forward into 2020. This show, the first show of 2 coming in from the Radium event, will focus in on the morning's activities. That was our juniors and our quad events. We guys hope you enjoy all of this race coverage action. We are proud to bring it to you courtesy of AMP CNC Academy as well as SPX Logistics, who came on board to assist with the production costs. Enjoy the show and watch out as next week we get ourselves ready to look at every single one of the 2-wheel category that went out in the afternoon. For now though, juniors and quads, here we go. With motorsport and GXCC opening up under the new COVID rules, everyone was feeling a little bit weird about going racing, but the cool thing was getting the bikes loaded, getting out to the racetrack, seeing your buds, seeing your chinas, and then all of a sudden, getting your helmet on. Time to start thinking about racing and getting serious once again. The morning session was all about the quads and the juniors going out. The quads tackling the 47-kilometer loop, going to be dusty, whoopy, and thorny, and the juniors on a 15-kilometer sprint lap. These are how the whole shots turned out, starting things out with the Q1s. We actually saw some good numbers coming in there. Gillian Jacobs, amazingly enough, no wins on the card so far in 2020. Defending champion was going to be Keenan Hammond, but the man on fire at the moment has been Busman. He was a no-show for the first flag drop. When the flag did drop though, it was a very rare albatross coming in here. That was all about Gillian Jacobs just edging out his good buddy and teammate on the 421 Racing Squad, Stewie Fell. So it was clear air in the early stages, and he needed that as well, as he was going cannonball racing at Radium. No peak on the helmet, as he unfortunately dropped it as he got himself ready for the race, and the rest of the riders were going to be chasing into Gillian's dust in the early stages of the event. Q1 were out, clear of the gates. They would open up the Radium track. Onto the gate then was going to be the Q2s. Again, another very rare occasion here where David Stradham very nearly nabbed the whole shot. There was millimeters in it, but eventually it was Björn van Sale and the KTM 690 with a little bit more low-end torque that pulled the numbers. David was in the number 2 spot. More importantly though, he was ahead of his championship rival Atti Simon and the whole shot kid on the fast KTM, CD Christen. Brian Herbst got the monkey off his back as well at round number 3 and got his brand new Yamaha fired out front to pull a massive hole shot ahead of his championship rivals. Remember, it has been all about Philip Boyce, who's gone 2 for 2 so far. A bad start for Philip though, as he was going to have to chase through only 3rd place to get around Kurbis, Pereira, and up to the back wheel of the Yamaha. Herbst was going to be in good shape then on loop number 1 to try and stay ahead of the rest of the charging pack of Masters. The ladies gave us just 3 riders this time around, so it was also a rare hole shot coming in for Marty Backfisher. She shouldn't have been worried about being troubled. It was sad to see though a no-show coming in for Carly Simon, who is still coming in trying to develop her quad for the rest of the season. Unfortunate to see those numbers. But what we lost in the ladies, we've made up in the wild class, where we had 5 brand new competitors taking up the chase. The W99 of Anas Mohammed actually saw clear air in the early stages, looked like he would run, but the rest of the riders were keen as mustard to see how many laps and how fast they can hang on the tough terrain out at Radium. That was the quads out onto the big 47-kilometer marker. Now, down to the juniors. Same as with the quads, the whole shot is key at GXCC racing. For the senior 85s, they would open up the 15-kilometer loop and cut it for the rest of the classes. One or two of the riders had put on a massive growth spurt in the forced off-season, and the flag drop was going to tell us who was going to be on the pin. As always, the unstoppable Curtis Bester was going to be charging, but he almost got boxed out off the line and would have to fight elbows up to try and squeeze his way through. He did just that though, and slotted into a number 2 spot in the early stages of the race. Troy Johnson that is, looked like he was dwarfing his little 85, and one of those tall riders that is desperate to jump up into the 125 class. First junior gate was out and clear. Next down the line would be the junior 85s. The man to beat on this gate on the season so far has been an incredible ride and season coming out of Keanu Fisser, but a brand new bike and running some good numbers was Clarkie. Brad Clark got himself up into clear air in the early stages, but he was going to have to figure things out and see if he could survive and live on with the tough pace of the stacked, huge numbers coming in from our junior 85 riders. For the 65s, Bruno Nebula has been the whole shot kid the whole way through the championship thus far. This time around, Hanyu de Kock almost got it to the peg, but they were going to be chasing down hard to catch up on early race leader, and the man that would run numbers out front and stretch away from the rest of the field, that was Jaden Els. He is bringing together an incredible run of form in the late championship, and it's important as well. With this counted, just 3 rounds on the cards to call our champions in 2020. 65s has been the biggest growth on the GXCC entry list in 2020 thus far. And once again, we saw well over 20 riders. And our 50cc warriors, it was tight at the top as everyone chased down into the first turn. Matty Mayer, unfortunately going a little bit tight on the can there and tagging wheels with Jean-Luc van der Westhuizen. They would both get up and charge their way through the field, but it was a tense start for them and the dads on the sideline. That left one man running numbers out front. Derek Milan would have clear air and a huge gap over the rest of the field. No worries on lap 1 for him. So we know what went down in the first few turns and we knew who grabbed the whole shot, but this is what happened out on the track come the end of play race day. Joshua Spencer walked away with a number 6 finish. Just up the road from him, squeaking into the magical number 5, was Christian Bellingham. He did a great job on the J101 to start putting his name up there as a championship contender. Hopefully he sticks with the 50s for next year, because he can pull some good results if he sets his mind to it. Then in the number 4 spot, the C346 of Liam Skippers. We've talked about this kid for a couple of years, and he did a fantastic job, just narrowly missing out on the top 3 steps. He'd have known about this rider coming through as well, charging hard, picking himself up from that little mistake in the first turn. Jean-Luc van der Westhuizen from Vans Racing in Middelburg came all the way through the pack up into a number 3 spot. That just shows how much pace he truly has. Matty Mayer, same situation. He was one of those riders tangled up in that first turn melee. He recovered nicely, but second place would be the fastest he could go. Unfortunately, the gap was too big to our eventual race leader, but Mayer did a sterling job on the J113. Derek Milan then pulled the whole shot, pulled the pin, gapped everyone, was the fastest on each of the laps, rolled off a little bit towards the end, but tags his name at the top to take a win at round number 3 to announce that he is the man to beat once again in the championship as we reboot GXCC Racing once again. Confirmation of Milan's win ahead of Mayer. Those are the 2 to watch out for in the championship. Van der Westhuizen does a sterling job in 3rd place ahead of Skippers, Bellingham and Spencer. Back to the track, the dust thorns, roost and sand whooped out now after a couple of laps of racing. In the 65cc's, JJ Kutsia really has done some sterling work in the off-season, gets himself up there for the magical number 10, chasing down on Daniel Peterson. Starting to see a couple of the kids crossing over from motocross into the world of cross-country and off-road, and we couldn't be happier to see these numbers on the page. Jake the Snake Pretorius on the J451. He normally should be running up in the top 5, so had some problems on the day. He will reboot though and recover as the year gets on, but he's running out of time. Number 8 finish for him. He was just behind Jaden Peterson, another one of the kids crossing over from the world of motocross in the J447, and we're starting to see these guys come on strong and start becoming players in the world of cross-country and off-road. Corbin Miller would be up the road in the magical number 6. The J427 did a great job off the gate, set himself up well in the early stages of the event, but it was a long, hot day in the saddle. 2 hours of turning laps on the 15-kilometer loop. It got tough, it got whooped out, and it got rough. They don't come any tougher than this as well. Number 5 spot for Mackenzie Bam, who has been turning laps almost daily during lockdown, trying to get a bit more focus on intensity and motocross, and she gets herself up into the number 5 spot. The last of the Mohicans and the first of the Mohawks coming through. Hanyu de Kock does a banger of a job there. Also turning laps and starting to become a player. His win will come one day, believe you me. Full spot this time around. The fastest of the Kawasaki's on the gate this time was Tully Stradham. Gets himself up into a banging number 3 spot. It's been a long time since we talked about the Kawasaki's coming on that strong. And then Bruno Nibua, the whole shot kid, got boxed out this time around, but still came through good for a number 2 spot. He's going to be really battling in the last 2 rounds to try and nail down the championship. But the whole shot and clear air went to this kid, Jaden Els. He really is becoming one sterling rider and seems to be extremely polished. Didn't shut down the gas one bit. The big high five, the checkered flag, and the win at round number 3. Here's the confirmation of Els getting it ahead of Nibua, Stradham, de Kock, and Bam. It's getting tough to squeak a top 5 finish in the incredible 65cc gate at the moment. Bigger wheels starting to get faster out there as well. The Junior 85 saw Enzo Antonio Kuhn get the job done in a number 10 spot as he tried to get up the road onto the back wheel of Janru Vannikerk. The bigger wheels definitely had an advantage. A little bit of extra power as well is always appreciated out there in the sand and the roost. Up into the number 8, climbing the ladder, was Lohan LaRue, a rider that maybe didn't gel exactly as he wanted to with the sandy conditions. Remember, a lot of these guys have very rarely been out there in the dust and sand, especially as deep and whooped out as it is in Radium. Then Jean-Andre Vermaak got a job done up in the number 7 spot, just one position off the magical podium. Remember, GXC scored the podium all the way up into the number 6 place. 6th place this time around went to Timmy Blake on the C159. Timmy, one of the Vans Racing Middelburg riders, definitely showing some massive improvements, and he seems to have that long-range tank running. Gets faster as the laps get longer. Top 5, the sweet spot, the J440 Henry Janssen van Rensburg did a massive job to get his number up there. By my count, looks like one of his highest finishes to date. Just up the road was Brandon Clark. He's had some mechanical problems early on in the season. Looks like he has unboxed a brand new box fresh Husqvarna 2021 for this one. I know that because he's got the lostminute.com number plates running. 4th place for him. He'll be pretty happy with that just to bag the points. Katleko McKinney, massive numbers on the season. One of the most consistent riders on the gate. Looks like he's about to make the jump up into the senior 85s for next year. 3rd place for him. Franco Ferri, he was a pinner off the gate. He has learned the magic of pulling the whole shot and getting yourself up there with the race runners out front. 4th place for him. He's going to be happy bringing home some good numbers on the championship. And then Keanu Fisser, he really has been one of those riders that arrived with a bang in 2020, also making the jump up to the senior 85s for next year. But he wants to do it with a number 1 plate. Another win for him. Confirmation of Fisser getting it out front ahead of Ferri and McKinney. Clarkey, good numbers for him on the new wagon in a number 4 spot ahead of Janssen van Rensburg. Last gate would be the senior 85s. These guys are running the fastest lap times on the junior gate at the moment. And Hanko Janssen van Rensburg would have been faster, but for a flat back tyre, even in the sand, it still does slow you down. Nicole Duplessis, now running in the colours of GXCC Workshop, shows improvement every time she goes out. The J259 gets into single digits on a number 9. Just one position off the back wheel of her former teammate, Jean-Andre Vermaak. He was up the road in 8th place, but Nicole is definitely coming on strong. 7th place this time around went to Xander Mayberg. Doing great work out there. Certainly, it does show that the juniors were busy in the last days of lockdown, maybe going out to the motocross tracks and just getting themselves loose, ready to go racing once again. Troy Johnson, who now stands almost 6 foot tall, is absolutely dwarfing the little KX85 at the moment and waiting for the day he can move up to the 125s. He was strangely down, only in 6th place. Leon Van Veek got up into the magical number 5, who's starting to really find some good numbers in the 2020 championship, and he was flying towards the end there. Very consistent lap times show that he was on the money. Gabriel DeToy up into a number 4 position. Love this rider's riding style. Very Kenny Gilbert, straight up and down on the bars, bends the elbows in the right spot, and finishes in the right spot as well. Just one position off the magical top 3. One of the fastest kids out the gate and starting to find the pace where he is consistent as well. Fast on lap 1 all the way through to the final lap. Josh Alexander now getting looked after fully in 2020 by the Bikers Warehouse Husqvarna squad. Watch out for this kid to have a long, illustrious career ahead of him. Third place for him. Second place went to Tommy Scales. Tommy came out of almost nowhere at this event. Super aggressive on the pipe as well. And love it. He just got that bike singing and got the hook up nice. A good start. Set up the J411. Finish where he was. But there was no beating the consistent, smooth, and incredibly experienced ride coming in from the mature head of Curtis Bester. Can't call him Baby Bester anymore. The kid is around about 5'5" now and charging hard, looking to nail down his big number 1 plate. He goes 3 for 3, winning rounds 1, 2, and 3 in the championship so far. Bester's win confirms him as the man to beat in the championship, but watch out for the dice for second place. It's going to be between Scales, Alexander DeToy, and Van Veek. Troy Johnson, desperate to make the move up to 125s in 2021. We change gears and click over now onto the quad loop. Remember, it was all the 47-kilometer loop, and the WOW class really knew about it. After pulling the whole shot, Anas Mohammed unfortunately dropped down to a number 5 spot, but was tagged with a finish. Saw hands and saw everything coming in at the end of the day, but we really hope that these WOW day license riders, for some of them being the first time racing with us at GXCCs, will make a return. They'll have just over a month and a half before we go racing once again. His teammate, Daoud Khan on the W11, got a good job going. And again, it would be about beating your mate and beating the rider in the car with you on the way home. That's often what it's all about. Third place at the first time of asking at the GXCC Reboot, just showing us how whooped out the track really was. Reinhard van Josveld even had time to wave the leg and show us what's what as he went on to tag the podium. Second place was Jean Otto. Did a great job out there on the W9. Consistent lap times, didn't put a foot wrong, but still, it was a long, hard and tough day out there in the saddle to try and figure out what was what out at Radium. Remember, they rode the exact same track as the pros in the rest of the categories. So who was on the top of the pile on the WOWs? It was the one and only Matt Smith. Not me, Matt Smith, my Afrikaans version of myself, on the W555, prepped by the 421 Racing Squad, one of the only fuel injection Kawasaki's out there. He stalled out off the line, but after that didn't put a foot wrong, brought it all the way home for the finish and gets his first number 1. That's confirmation of Smith on top ahead of Otto, Van Josveld, Khan and Mohammed. Welcome to GXCC Racing, all of our quad wows. For the ladies, they had to show how tough they were, and it was true grit that brought Renette Duplessis all the way home for a third place. She fought hard for it, even though there were only 3 ladies out there. You have to be in it to win it, you have to start, and you have to make it all the way to the finish. Celeste Berger, who has been a revelation in this year's championship, super consistent, and she now confirms herself as second place in the championship. She may well be able to challenge for the win come the end of the season if Marty Backfisher puts 1 foot wrong. At the moment though, Marty isn't doing that. She got the whole shot on the YZ450 running out the 421 Racing Squad, got the 169 all the way to the front and saw clear air all the way through the day. She got the most laps in the bag for all of the ladies, and she now moves into a confirmed championship points lead as she extends off the front. She'll be happy with that heading into the final 2 rounds. Here's confirmation of Backfisher on top. Also shows that she did the most laps out of the ladies ahead of Berger and Duplessis. We hope for more lady quaddies for the final 2 rounds of GXCC. Masters up next. Big gate as well, gave us some good numbers. Francois Berger didn't like the rough and tough conditions, but still did enough laps to tag his number 7 finish. Pete Swanepoel, riding up the Swannies Racing Squad, also had to really bite down hard. A lot of the guys were suffering with dehydration, saying it was just so hard to get a drink going with the whooped out conditions, and the flat sections didn't stay flat for long. Pete Swanepoel tagged the number 6 finish. Up the road from him was William Wilson on the 450 machine, also just showing how whooped out the track really got. The quad guys battled all the way through the day as the pros were doing upwards of almost 5 laps out there. Nico Smith, who's been great on the championship so far, enjoyed his showing at rounds 1 and 2 in the early part of the season, and this was almost like a mini desert race, he said, when he came back in on the 266. Nico walked away with a number 4 spot. And the 3 championship players, the guys that are going after gold come the end of the season, the ever consistent and affable Curtis Ferreira, He went out on lap number 1 in the number 2 spot, eventually falling back to 3rd place, but he remains 2nd place in the championship for now as we close in on the end of the season. Whole shot coming in for 421 Racing's Brian Herbst, but if you watch the front end of his quad, we found out the story come the end of play. It wasn't all smooth sailing. 2nd place, by his own admission, was almost a miracle coming in at the end of a very tough day. So it's another three-peat. Philip Boyce goes 3 for 3, winning out at Bronkhorst, Fockville, and now Radium, the L42, near on untouchable with just 2 races left of the season to see if he can clean house and go unbeaten on 2020. Boyce came to the finish knowing that it was up to everyone else to chase for the minor placings in the championship. Flag time for the 3rd time.
Brian, after one of the probably best starts of your career, it looked like it was rough after that.
Yeah, it was a tough ride, Matt. You know, the new bikes, we've got a couple of teething problems. Turns out something wasn't quite right on the suspension, so I had a day with pretty much no suspension travel, and it was rough out there. Man, it was a tiring day today.
Points on the plate though. I mean, it wasn't the win, but it's points, and you're desperate for them at the moment.
Yeah, look, you know, I'll take it. Second is, I think it's second. Second, I'll take it. Yeah, it's points on the plate. There's still 2 races. We can maybe salvage something this year.
Miracle ride for Herbie, but confirmation of the dominance of Boyce out top. Consistency for Ferreira, 3rd place, and like I said, holds on to the 2 spot for the championship. Smith, Wilson, Swanepoel, and Berger round out the top 7. Next up will be the Q2s, the unlimited class, where we saw an incredible whole shot coming in for Björn van Zyl. He would drop down the order. We'll get to him in a moment though. 8th place, and one of the toughest rides and the lowest finish of the season, unfortunately, for Rian Dick. Things just didn't go his way. Christian Ferreira, the only Ferreira out of the 2 Ferreira brothers that did make it to the finish. Unfortunately, his brother suffering early race mechanical problems, but 7th place, he'll take it. 6th place in the first step of our virtual podium. Remember, no prize givings nowadays at the moment under the new COVID rules, but still points on the plate and tagging the finish. Paul Duplessis, aggressive style. He definitely loved the rough, tough race out here at Radium, and he brought it home nicely. It was a good start coming in from Reinhard Swart. We don't always see him racing a full championship tour, but when he does come out, he brings home the bacon. Swart comes home with a magical number 5. That is a fantastic ride for a part-time rider. Björn van Zyl, who did see clear air, if only for a couple of 100 meters. Eventually, the heat and the tough conditions dropping Van Zyl down to a number 4 spot from his original whole shot. So who squeaked it into the top 3? After running some good pace, but unfortunately dropping down to a 3rd after getting penalties for not stopping at a road crossing. Championship points leader Ati Simon drops down to 3rd place. He'll still hang on to the championship lead, but it's going to tighten up big time now. Ati Simon on the L24 will have to get the hurry up going in the final 2 rounds. CD Gerson, riding out of the fast KTM and SPX logistics squad, had a good gate, not one of his best. I think he came into the first turn around about 4th or 5th, but did finish and cross the stripe in 3rd place, but was obviously promoted because of the penalties handed to Simon up into the number 2 spot. The L222 finishing in the 2 spot. He's now becoming a real championship threat, sitting in 3rd place on points. David Stratum, one of those men who just gets faster as the season gets longer. He pulled a great start, was able to make the pass on Björn van Zyl in the early laps, and then ran clear numbers, not only to lead out in his class, but to take 2nd place overall on the quad event. He knew about it, but that's one of David's best rides to date.
CD, maybe not one of your best starts, but a good race nonetheless.
I was really surprised with the power of the 500 on this start. Just hooked really well, but came back quite good, and it was really difficult, but I liked it. The last lap I just wished I had like a bottle of water to throw all over me, but really hot. Before the weekend I was like 27 degrees. I haven't ridden in this temperature for 8 months. It was really tough.
The tougher the races are, the better you are. This is one of those days.
Yes, most definitely. It was a challenge. I must admit that it was quite a challenge, but yeah, I managed to finish 4 laps and second in my class.
Yeah. And that's good for your championship because you've been unbeatable this year, so you're still off the front of the championship.
Obviously to win the championship is the main aim, but let's see what happens the rest of the year.
What do you think about David? He seems to be getting faster. He's in that phase of the season again.
Yes, most definitely. He is quite a good competition on the track out there. He kept a good pace right from the start. He had a good start and he kept his pace for all 4 laps, and well done to him, he did well.
Dav, you've been pushing hard this whole year, and I think you had to earn that one, didn't you?
Yeah, no, this was tough. I mean, we had a 4 or 5 month break. Feels like forever. And no, this was this killed us. It was extremely rutted out. So even from lap 1, I thought, oh, this is going to be a long 200 k's, and it was tough.
I know it was 3 hours ago, but how was that whole shot, man?
Yeah, no. What did I tell you at the start? I said no. These CST styles are amazing. Really, they just hook and then it's off. So yeah, no, it was fun. The start.
The day definitely got tougher, but the rewards come to those who hang tough. Radium on top ahead of Quirson and Simon. That's how they scored. Van Sale, the whole shotter, dropping down to 4th ahead of Swat. Lost up then, the Q1s, where we have yet to see a win coming in from former champion Gideon Jacobs. It was a good buddy of his, Rudolf Kruger, that walked away with a number 7 finish as he chased up the road to another Gideon Jacobs. This is a different one though, running out on the Honda. We actually had a couple of Hondas turning up out of nowhere on this event. Gideon Jacobs on the 397 then delivers a 6th place finish. Jake Wilson walking away with a number 5 spot. And then we started to see the old stalwarts of the sport. Stefan Swanepoel, who has done some magical work, somehow crowbarring a CRF 450 motocross engine into one of the old quads. So a TRX CRF combination. Good to see all that work happening behind the scenes for Swanee. Stewie Fell, who very nearly tagged the whole shot. In fact, he tagged the back end of his good buddy on his way to 2nd place there, eventually dropping down to 3rd. Stewie Fell is very strong in the championship in 2020 at the moment, bringing home top 3 finishes almost every single time. The defending champion coming out of the 2019 season, the L2 of Keenan Hammond, also found the going extremely tough, but he did find some good pace and good rhythm. He was actually dicing it out with David Radium for the 3rd place and 2nd place dice for the overalls. 2nd place in. The Q1s though, unable to catch up to the pace of the man out front, which means it was only one name missing off the list. Gideon Jacobs has taken all this time. Some would say half a year, but really it's only 3 rounds to get all the way to the front. A very rare whole shot coming in for the man who is now committed to racing and prepping on the Yamahas after years on KTMs. He's had mechanical problems at rounds 1 and 2, but at round number 3, even though he had a small issue, he absolutely dominated out front, taking the class win in the Q1s and clear air out front to claim the Radium overall victory for the quads. It's the return of the king and the Cannonball, who went peakless this time around after rolling out a brand new helmet for the event and then dropping it as he got out of the car. Maybe it was a bit of an aero advantage. The Q1s were home and Radium got the win.
Keenan, that was a wild one. I mean, talk about baptism of fire coming back into racing out here at Radium, eh?
Definitely, the race was the hardest we've had in like a couple of years, I would say. The ruts were deep from the start. Started to get extremely whipped out on the last lap now. They just could barely hold on.
Tell me about that last lap, you and David, all over each other, eh?
Yeah, definitely. We had a good race there, and it was an awesome fun day.
Gideon, I mean, you're a tough dude, but that looked like it hurt, eh?
Yeah, I know. Yesterday got rutted out badly, even actually from the start. From lap 1, it was no, that's going to hang on and be a tough race.
Tell me about some of the issues. I heard standard option Gideon. Problems on lap number 1?
I need to drop at lap 1. Luckily, it just loosened my front brake caliper bolt. Came in lap 1, luckily tightened it and bled it, and yeah, all good. So from there, it just went great. So.
Can you believe it's taken you this long this year to get a win?
Yes, I just told him, flipping it's only the first race this year without any issues up, or sort of out any issues I finished. So very happy with that. Can't complain.
confirmation of Gideon Jacobs' first win of the season. He's going to try and hang on to that because there was no show for Busman, which means Jacobs is in the virtual championship lead ahead of Hammond, Fell, Swanepoel, Wilson, Jacobs and Kruger on the day.
So that was our juniors and our quads race package. We really hope you enjoyed it. It was our absolute pleasure to put this together for you guys. And now we get ourselves ready for next week, where we're going to go in and review all of the motorcycle categories from the OR1 Big Bangers all the way down to the Wild Class Day License riders. Hang tough there, guys. Also watch out for Hollywood Hills. It's going to be coming out on Monday. We'll do a quick category review of the winners of each of the classes, and then hold your breath for the big show coming forward for next week with all of the bike classes. Great to be reporting back with you guys. Hope you enjoyed the show once again, and stay tuned. Keep training, stay fit. There are 2 rounds of the GXCC still to go.